Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new episode of our online interview series. Today, I have the pleasure and honor to speak to Fury Gold Mines, and here with me is Tim Clark, the CEO of Fury Gold Mines, and Bryan Atkinson, the Senior Vice President of Fury Gold Mines. Guys, welcome back and welcome to the show.
Hey, Mark, great to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
It's always a pleasure. How are things going in Canada after the election?
Uh, yeah, well, I think traveling back and forth over the Canadian border isn't what it used to be, but um, as an American who goes up there quite a bit, everything seems to be fine, and I think we're all going to get along in the end.
Yeah, your neighbor in the south is always keen for a surprise.
Yep.
No, but doesn't matter the US. So the good thing is the US doesn't affect you that much. But you guys, you from Fury Gold Mines, you had so much great news out starting in February, beginning of February with your drill program at Eleonore South, then your acquisition in Quebec, and yesterday the big news with your strategic investor Agnico Eagle. So congratulations to all these news, and yeah, let's talk about that. So Tim, with what do you want to start?
Oh, it is. I didn't realize it, but it's been a busy start to the year. I think, the first thing we did was get up to the Eleonore South, and we've got hopefully some results pending pretty soon. We've been waiting to collect them, and we've learned a lot from that part. And then I think the surprise for us was Quebec Precious Metals. It was a $40 million market cap a couple of years ago, and we picked it up for only $4 million bucks. And Brian and I just came back from Kippawa looking at the rare earth project that they hold, and we bought this asset for the gold and the upside and the high grade that it had doubled our land package in James Bay, makes us the largest junior in James Bay. But we also picked up this rare earth play that it's could be substantial for the company. That's kind of exciting as well. On the Agnico news, we've been working on that since the beginning of the year. And from a detail point of view, but we've been kind of gunning for them for 3 years now. I think the Committee Bay project plays right into their pipeline. They moved Hope Bay from exploration to development, and I think there's a place for us in that pipeline, being the largest sort of land package for a junior up there. And in my view, I think Nunavut's going to be more important, not less, geopolitically. I think it's also going to be, it's still the place to go, especially in North America, where there's big bonanza potential. And that's what we're going after up there. So that's really exciting news as well.
Yeah, 100%. Do you want to change your focus now from Quebec area to Nunavut more, or what's the strategy behind?
Well, we're staging, and so I think the last couple of years we've been basically kind of layering in the work. Brian's done a lot of survey work. We've done a lot of testing and targeting. Last summer we didn't do any drilling, but we went out and did a lot of samples and sort of review of what we have. I'll let Brian talk about Committee Bay specifically in the drilling program, but that Committee Bay, there was a ton of money put into that originally. It's like 160, 180 million dollars have already been spent. There's a full 100-person camp. There's a runway. There's you can fly a Hercules jet in there. You've got millions of dollars equipment. We've got 3 drills. And so when Agnico looked at this, in my opinion, I think they were excited that we were sort of set up. Plus, we have the 3 drills that we can basically drill for almost half of what everybody else is doing. And that's really attractive too. So the money is well spent. But again, it was an asset in our portfolio that's been kind of dormant that we've all of a sudden pulled out of mothballs, and now we're going in, and not just us, but we've been validated in terms of the technical upside from Agnico, and it's really exciting because Agnico is a tough customer, and they didn't get to be the largest gold mining company in the world, not looking at detail. And that $4 million we just raised was probably the hardest I've ever had to work for $4 million. And investors who are not understanding what we're doing in Committee Bay really should pay attention, because it's a big part of our portfolio, and where this is where you get the big gorilla, 800-pound gorilla, is discovery up in the north. And it's not going to sideline us from Quebec, because we're going in there equally excited about what we've got with Eau Claire. And I think Eau Claire will be a sort of back half of the year focus, because we're thinking and we're looking at some things a different way. But we've also want to bring up the Quebec precious metals property with Sakami. There's some low-hanging fruit there with some high-grade targets that, again, is what investors should be excited about. I mean, I think Fury has done everything really well the last 3 years, and the missing piece are these big swings at real upside potential with drilling.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, as an investor in Fury Gold Mines, for disclosure, um, I can't believe it. So you have a market cap of 85 million Canadians, and as you said, the all these things you have in Nunavut. So has there was investments over 100 million. You have three drill rigs. You have the whole camp there. You have the everything is there, but it's not appreciated. So this undervaluation from your market cap perspective, your ounces in the ground, as well as your three very high interested projects, it's crazy sometimes.
Well, Mark, look, the reason why everybody invests in small cap is so that you can get this disconnected valuation. And when the flows come back in, and if you own the better assets in that sector, you're going to kill it. And that's where the big money is down the road. And that's what's exciting about this time in the market. Fury, the luxury Fury has is we've had a very easy time raising money. We're good at raising money. And we've done all this, like this Agnico deal was no fee. People don't pay attention. Like, no fee for that. It was no fee 3 years ago, no fee for some other big investments. And even a lot of our other raises have been really good with the brokers, because we've had this piece of the Dolly, and Dolly's been the leverage and linchpin. And nobody else in the junior market has that, to be able to have the confidence to keep moving our business up and to the right and increase the value of the company. But again, these are the times you take a bet, and you have to look at the valuation of what's really there. And if you compare our resource like Eau Claire, I think I've had other people who are very experienced, who run these kind of companies, look at that asset and tell us it's top 5 in Canada and top 10% in the world in terms of the resource, because of the high grade amount of ounces, and you're on the road with power. It's unheard of for a junior. And when I brought in Brian Christie who to be our chairman from Agnico, the first thing he said is, like, Agnico doesn't have any juniors like this, with like this access to infrastructure. It's just unusual, and that's for Quebec. And then for Nunavut, it's different. But I think this is exciting times, and it's a lot to talk about.
100%. And as I said, so you had so many great news, and just to get a bit more in detail about your drill program at Eleanor South. So with the new owner, Dilma Limited, who bought the Eleanor mine from Newmont, um, What does this drill program include? And maybe also after your acquisition of Quebec precious metals, is there any changes now in your drill program because now you have the other projects around you to get included? Brian, what's the information about the drill program?
Yeah, we completed 12 holes this summer or this spring. It's a massive target area, 2 by 3 kilometers. So, we very, needle in a haystack sort of thing so far into it, and we saw some interesting things. And as Tim mentioned, we're hoping to get those results all consolidated and announced here in the near term. Um, it's an interesting project, and you're surrounded by over 5 million ounces of gold between, Dilmar's Eleonore mine and then Sirius Resources Chichu deposit, which, that we know that mineralization comes onto our side. So even without having this target in there, is very interesting, property to begin with. And this, the potential of finding another Eleonore style body of mineralization in there has been, fantastic to get out there and explore for. And, like I said, we saw some really interesting things, and we're learning a lot as we go with, the first sort of 12 holes into it. So, yeah, looking forward to getting that out to everybody. As for priorities, we've always kind of, wanted to flow through things. And, we brought in the big portfolio of Quebec precious metals. As Tim mentioned, the Sakami project's got some low hanging fruit, and again, it's close to a paved highway. It's got hydro power lines between the highway and the project, so it's got reasonable access. It's got good infrastructure close by. It's in a First Nations community that we're familiar with, and it's on the road to the Dilmar mine as well. So all these kind of things, pulled together, and it's we're going to stage. We've got to go through and digest what we just acquired from Quebec Precious Metals and add it into our pipeline, and it slots perfectly into our pipeline. We've got Eau Claire, which is resource stage, great resource, near infrastructure. We've got the Eleonore South, which is has some mineralization, has some great exploration targets. We've got Sakami, which we think is near resource stage, plus with some exploration potential on it, and then a lot of greenfields exploration as well. So it's a great pipeline to have the projects and keep advancing things through. And as we will advance Eau Claire, we'll advance Eleonore South, we'll advance Sakami as we go through in a sort of staged approach.
Has Sakami any former resources?
No, it's there's no resource on it. There's a bit of drilling, historical drilling. The last ones was kind of in 2021. So there's some defined body of gold mineralization, but it's never been put together into a resource. So what we do this year is one of the goals, obviously want to get out there, make new discoveries, expand on things, look at extensions to what's known, and then sort of tertiary is, hopefully put out a brand new maiden resource on that project.
Nice. And you mentioned the drill holes. Is it the drill program now completed with this 4 to 6 thousand meters, or are you still drilling?
No, we completed it. So we completed it just before April 20th. There's
Mhm.
a traditional sort of break, April 20th to May 20th in the Cree territory, where they ask us not to fly mineral exploration companies to take a break, so they can get out on the land and hunt geese as they migrate back up to the north. So it's a very respected traditional part of the season. So we just we took a break and we respected that, and now we're going to go back in to probably to Sakami in early June here. I'm going up to site next week with Valerie, our project geologist, and just kind of flush out the last details of getting into there.
Okay.
I think if Mark, if investors took a look at our presentation, there's a map that shows the region with outlining all the properties, and basically Eleonore is in the center, being the third
Yeah.
largest producer, and we kind of fan out around them, and Sakami is to the west, and our Eleonore Eau Claire project is south, and so you can see sort of it's a good visual on what I think is a potential great land acquisition package.
100%. So it's on page 5. but we also get it here in our presentation. But as you said, it's a great map, and then you get a good overview about all your projects, about all the locations around major producers.
Yes.
And coming back to Dilma Limited, so the company behind the Eleanor mine now. Are you in contact with these guys after the acquisition? Do you see any interests about your projects nowadays, or how's the situation there?
Well, we've yeah, good question. It's so I haven't met them.
Hmm.
We've heard some good things that the CEO's been to site a few times, and again, very positive kind of reaction. I think I've heard that they're getting out and doing some drilling. We haven't spoken to them specifically, but the two guys who represented them to Newmont, um, um, with Bank of Montreal to do the deal are guys I know really well. One of them I used to work with at Bank of Montreal. And so they have that photo of that land package, and they know what we're around them. And what they said to us is we need to kind of uh, get a chance to drink from the fire hose for a couple months, and then we'd like to sit down with you guys. They want to see what we've got. And so, now that we've closed the Agnico deal, I think my plan was to reach out to them and try and set something up where we want to be good partners, not just from a business point of view, but we share a lot of the First Nations relationships, and we're neighbors, and it's good. I know in the past, I think we've had relationships where we could share emergency services, things like that, and it's always good. But my understanding is they want to get bigger,
Yeah.
and they want to be a 2 million ounce producer. So they're going to have to grow quite a bit. And my personal thesis is if we can create some resources outside of Eleanor that would work with them and their mill. We know their mill is running at half capacity,
Okay.
and so there's room for it. I would think from a just common sense practice that whole property would go together. But again, we don't know. We don't know what they want to do, and we're not going to presume anything at this point. But I think they've got a lot of money and a lot of backing and and really believe in gold.
Yeah. Also, I'm believing in gold. So at 3,300, it's crazy times nowadays.
Yeah.
Last time you spoke to Jochen, that was mid or end of November in our studio. So gold was at this time at 2,600, and we were still pretty happy. But now it's even better. But nothing happened with the share price of all the junior companies. That's the problem. So of course the big guys, Newmont, Barrick, and Co and Agnico got the appreciation, but the rest is still sleeping.
Well, I got to tell you, I got to give Agnico credit. Agnico's been very active
Yeah.
investing in juniors, very active. We're not the only ones. And what's interesting, and as Brian was pointing this out earlier, um, the mid caps you would think would be more active trying to acquire land in assets right now. They're really not. And what we think is that they're waiting for the crumbs to come off the big guys,
Mhm.
and everything is kind of staged. And I had a CEO tell me 2 years ago, um, it, the juniors typically move 18 months after the seniors peak
Okay.
historically,
Mhm.
because it takes time to roll downhill, that money rolling downhill. And if you actually look out in the market and the news now, you'll see a lot of companies buying back shares, paying off debt, and that's ongoing right now. Once they're done with that, and if gold stays over 3,000, the cash flow that they're getting is so enormous, they got to do something with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's when things kind of start happening. So the plan for us is to be positioned so that when that happens, we're really buffed out. We've got our valuations. in hand. We've got our drilling that we wanted to take swings on in hand, and we've got a really nice portfolio, and we're getting there. This summer drilling could be sort of game changing for us, in my view.
100%. So nowadays it's the perfect time to get first shares of the juniors, just to get the first step in and to watch it. And you are the perfect example for a good managed company with perfect projects. Just coming back to the Agnico strategic investment. So, as Brian also and you, Tim, said, Agnico did his homework, his due diligence. So, what was the information about your discussions with these guys?
Good question. Good
Yeah,
question.
look, obviously Agnico knew about the project, right? They've looked at it in the past. They have their, they're watching what's going on in Nunavut because they've got such a big footprint up there. And one of the initial comments when we set up the meeting was, I've seen this. Not much has changed in the last 10 years, right? And
Mhm.
so our goal, we knew we had to go in there and change that perception, right? And we have the same perception on Eau Claire, right? So
Yeah.
that's what we've been trying to change. But with Agnico, we were able to sit them down, and by the end, we had the senior guys, buying full on into it, and especially the top technical guys and that, and they saw that things have changed. Our technical teams come up with new targets, new ideas that could really break open the belt, and they felt it was a good time to step in and help support that exploration. So it was just that change of perception and showing things actually have changed. We've got that 2021 hole that's sitting out in the shear zone that's subparallel, that the headline hit of it was 10 meters at almost 14 grams,
Yeah.
13.93 grams. So obviously following up on that, and that we mapped it out last year. We did some groundwork. We've got some undrilled mineralized outcrops at Raven South along another shear zone. We've got a nice bullseye target at the Burrow West target, which is also sitting along a shear zone. So just stepping away from that iron formation focus and going into the shear zone sort of look, they were really keen on that because they're Whale Tail is that one of their big mines up there. So they saw that progression, and they saw the thinking path, and like I said, they thought it was a good time to step in and not only help us out financially, but now we get access to their top Nunavut guys that are on the exploration side to come in and help us refine the targeting in that. So once we get that done, we'll put out the the 2025 summer exploration plans up there in the next couple of weeks, and
Okay.
that'll be about using the Agnico's money, right, and smart and efficiently, as Tim said.
And on top of it, this isn't just a one summer swing. We got enough money that we can stage fuel up for next year. And obviously, it's we're still early days and getting results, but the plan, the outlook is to get up there and be more meaningful next year.
Do you need to reach any milestones within special time?
No, there's
No.
no milestones per se. It's they want us to spend the majority of the money in Nunavut,
Yeah.
which we have every intention to do. So that was the criteria. And I think they also like the fact that we were very disciplined about how we spend money. We don't just float it up there and go for helicopter rides. It's our drilling costs are much lower than everybody else's, and it's for a reason.
Amazing. So, how much cash do you have now in the bank?
We've got about 7.3 million right now,
Hmm.
and so more than enough to pay for the Quebec precious metals, or the SCAMI, and the Nunavut. And as we kind of approach sort of the back half of the year, we're going to take a look at Eau Claire and sort of determine what direction we want to go there. There's a lot of potential there, and I think that where the multiples are coming into the space, haven't been so much in exploration, but as you move your projects towards development and then showing a pathway to production, and Eau Claire is getting close.
100%. And now with the acquisition as well as with Agnico in your company, how's the share structure now?
So I believe they're a little over 6%.
Hmm.
And then we've got Newmont just under them, as well as a big US institution, which we all know. And about 50 to 55% is retail,
Yeah.
predominantly US retail. Most of the companies held in the US. We're listed on the New York Stock Exchange, which is important. I think it's becoming more and more important, um, and a more distinguishing factor as a junior company to be listed in the U.S. And Dolly Varden just listed in the U.S.
Hmm.
and it's going to open up their access to capital as well as their market cap, in my opinion. And so it's made their shares even more valuable. And it's something investors should pay attention. If they can buy a company that's got liquidity with U.S. listing, it's a big plus. And not only that, but you have to jump through a lot of accounting hoops, and it's no joke. And so it's an added, sort of benefit and security that that the companies are acting in good faith.
100% is a big plus. And you mentioned Dolly Varden. So how big is still your percentage in Dolly Varden?
Well, we own about 14.5%. We've moved out of the number one slot and relinquished it to Hecla. They did a land package swap with Dolly, so they've upped their percentage of the company ownership. And we sold 1 million shares out to help pay for this summer and ongoing expenses. And so we still sit with more than $40 million in equity. So that's going to carry us quite far. I'm very bullish on what they're doing. They've done a few small acquisitions on top of this land package swap with the Hecla. So they're positioning themselves as a real golden triangle BC silver takeout, and they've got $30+ million to spend on drilling this summer, and they're going at it.
Amazing.
Yep.
So, and you have the best information because you are still on the board, right?
I'm still on the board, and I'm very happy with Dolly Varden shares. I think there's a lot of potential upside there for Fury, and again, Sean is a pro, and he's doing a very good job running that company.
100%. And
As someone said to me, it's not a question of if, it's just when, they get taken out. I mean, there's just only so many silver plays out there. There's just not many, and they're one of the top five takeout targets out in the space.
100%. And in the gold space, in a couple of years, hopefully also Fury will get a big target.
Yeah,
And
we're
so,
doing our best. We're doing our best to present this, and what investors should be pleased with is we're getting in the door. We're having the discussions. A lot of stuff I couldn't explain. The past year of how many conversations, who's been up to our camps, but it's starting. It's starting to come in and be monetized, like with Agnico.
yeah, and for me especially, what I really, really like of you guys, so you announced something and you delivered all the time. And so you are one of the few very trustful management teams in the junior sector, and that's also a big plus.
Well, the nicest compliment I think I've gotten in a long time was, Tim, you've done everything you said you were going to do. And if I can keep doing that, that means we're adding value all the time, and eventually it's going to translate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So near-term catalyst, as Brian said, are the drill results. What's coming
Drill
out?
results will come out. We've got some other press releases to put out, so we'll have some press releases out the next few weeks. And then, of course, the big one will be when we start getting results out of the summer for the new drilling. And again, it's going to be a busy back half of the year for Fury.
It's gonna be an interesting, very busy time for you guys, and I'm checking all the time your news, and yeah, I'm looking forward to everything. So, Brian, Tim, thanks for your time, and looking forward for the next interview with the next news.
All right, thanks, Mark. Great to see you again.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
very
very
much.
much. And yes, guys, so that was Fury Gold Mines, one of the best in-class gold junior companies in the world. They have great projects in Canada, so one of the low-risk jurisdictions in the world. They are surrounded by by the major producers. They have now just released the investment, the strategic investment of Agnico Eagle. These guys have done their due diligence, their homework, so they are very excited. I am very excited. Check out the company and bye bye here from Switzerland.